Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. It's another in the Student Exemplar series. We're looking at a fantastic answer on Eva Smith in An Inspector Calls, sent in by Amira Abdi. Thank you for this, Amira. This is your mock question. You've got 28 out of 30 in your mock, and we're going to have a look at it. So we haven't done a Student Exemplar video for quite a while, so let me just remind you of the process. You can send in a piece of work. It could be an actual exam paper, it could be a mock question, something you've done for homework, and I'll have a look through it, and if I think it's good and everybody has something to gain through having a look at it, then I'll use it in a video as we've got here, and I'll send you 2 free ebooks as a thank you. So that doesn't mean that you have to send in a perfect piece of work, because I'll use a piece of work if I think we could all learn something through not just the strengths, but also, the sort of weaknesses in the work as well. So this was a question on how does Priestley show the character of Eva Smith to represent poverty. And we'll get right into it. Throughout the didactic play An Inspector Calls, Priestley clearly demonstrates the character of Eva Smith to be a representation of the lives of working class women and used to show how they were often exploited by the upper class. So I guess one of the first things to talk about here is this short and concise introduction really does make it very clear that the character of Eva is being used to present a message from Priestley. And I talk about this a lot, but you have to always be aware that the characters are not real. They're created by the playwright, the author, the poet, whoever's writing, to present a message or a theme. So linking the character to the idea or the theme that that character is used to present is really important. And this introduction suggests that is what's going to happen. Repeatedly throughout the play, the vainglorious and vindictive character of Mrs. Burling refers to Eva Smith as girls of that class. The use of the preposition that shows a separation between the classes and reflects that poverty for working class women can be quite isolating. Furthermore, one may agree that Eva Smith is a microcosmic representation for the struggles that working class women face through her name. For example, her first name Eva connotes to the biblical Eve, whilst her surname Smith shows that she represents the masses, and this further exemplifies the idea that working class women of Priestley's time are overlooked, just as the way her surname represents a multitude of people. This allows an audience to feel sympathy for Eva and understand the differences and mistakes between both the past and the present, and avoid repeating the cycle. Priestley may have done this to show that working class women such as Eva face harsh challenges such as isolation and being overlooked, and almost like a warning sign to the British aristocracy that from exploiting the poor it could lead to your own downfall. Okay, so there's a lot in this paragraph. Now, if I was reading this paragraph, I would think, okay, you've got so many ideas in here, and it's very, very good, but I would wonder, will the rest of the answer live up to this? Because it's almost like there's so much in this opening. This could have been a couple of separate paragraphs. I'm not saying it has to be, but it could have been. So the first thing is this close word analysis of the preposition that and what that suggests. So I like that. That's language analysis, and it's kind of thinking very closely about the word choices of the writer, the playwright. And then there's the name analysis, and there are 2 things with the name Eva Smith, as we see in this answer. There's the idea that her name is linked to the biblical Eve, which suggests she represents all women, as Eve was the mother, the first woman, that kind of thing. And the Smith, which is a very common surname, and that suggests also that she represents all women, and that kind of idea that Eva Smith is not just one person, but a sort of a symbol of all women. So a very nice paragraph, links to the writer's ideas and themes very well, and some really good close word analysis in terms of language analysis. To continue, throughout the play, Eva is demonstrated almost as a lesson to the Burling family and gives them an insight into the lives of bourgeois women. On the inspector leaving, members of the Burling family exclaimed that "I knew it was not a real inspector that came to visit us." The pronoun I reflects the superiority mindset the upper class have and their myopic attitudes towards change. This idea of superiority is further exemplified in the play, where Mr. Burling describes the exploitation of Eva in his factory. This example allows the audience to understand that the exploitation of poor women was more common than people thought, and most of the time inescapable. Poverty is also demonstrated as inescapable throughout the play, as Eva Smith is never shown on stage, and this recurring structure of the play shows that Priestley believes in the pessimistic view that issues on poverty will never change. This could show poverty to be quite monotonous or tedious, and heightens the sense of anger or hatred the audience feels towards the Burling family, through them failing to recognise the struggles that poverty can bring. However, this sense of hatred is little in comparison to what Priestley feels towards the upper class. In his 1942 novel Blackout and Gretly shows how he finds the upper class to be more similar to Nazism and fascism than democracy and equality, and this could show that Priestley believes that in order to help women like Eva, society needs to convert to a more socialist ideologies, and that capitalism is causing women like Eva to be in the cycle of poverty. Okay, so this paragraph again has really three separate ideas in it, and the first idea is very similar to an idea we already saw with this analysis of the pronoun I showing a sense of superiority, and of course that's very similar to the analysis of the preposition that, reflecting poverty being isolating. So it's that close word analysis. What I really like is this idea of the structure of the play, or the idea that, Eva is never on stage, and an exploration of why that might be. And of course you could say, well, she's dead. But the point is, Priestley made that decision, didn't he? He could have started with Eva on stage committing suicide. He could have had flashbacks throughout the play to the moments when people met her and their interactions with her, but he chose not to have her on stage. And we see here a really interesting exploration of why that might be. The pessimistic view that things will never change, represented through the fact that we never see her. And I would have liked to see that explored a little bit more. One of the things we see, or I see a lot in literature, is where somebody will find something, for example, the fact that Eva Smith is never shown on stage, and they'll say what it means. So we've got this answer. This recurring structure shows Priestley believes in the pessimistic view that issues on poverty will never change. But what I would like to say is, well, how does the fact that Eva Smith never appears on stage actually show us the pessimistic view that issues on poverty will never change? And it's that kind of idea of, if you find something, you say it has an effect, you've got to explain how it has that effect. And that is what I expected the rest of the paragraph to go on to, but it moved into this reference to other things the writer had written. So I think this is a strong answer, and obviously the student's teacher gave this 20 out of 30. I don't normally talk about marks, and I don't think it helps to say, well, would you give this 28? It's not, that's not the point. The point is, what can we learn from this answer in terms of its strengths, and what can we learn from this answer in terms of things we could improve? I liked the very succinct introduction, which made it clear that the student knew that the character is used to present a theme. I liked the close word analysis, and I liked the idea of exploring why Eva Smith is never on stage. I felt that a couple of the ideas were underexplained, and as I said at the beginning, what we've got in this answer is essentially 3 ideas in each paragraph. Now, I'm a big fan of 1 idea per paragraph. And the reason I like that is because I think when you have 1 idea per paragraph, I feel like you fully explore that idea. What tends to happen, there's a risk of this happening, is if you have a few ideas per paragraph, it's not actually clear until the examiner or a teacher or whatever looks back at it that, hang on a minute, you never really fully explained that idea there. So if you're writing 1 idea per paragraph and you finish your paragraph and it's 3 lines, then visually you can look at that and think, hang on a minute, have I explained that fully? Do you see what I mean? You've got a visual clue to, am I explaining my idea fully here? But hopefully you found this video useful. Thank you for sending in the work, and if you want to send in your work to be featured, please do email it to info@mrbruff.com. What I will say is that you can remain anonymous. So a lot of people say, look, I don't want to be named, and that's absolutely fine. But in this case, the student was happy to be named. So thank you for sending it in. Please do subscribe to the channel.